pasar es Carlos Hernán Pereira.
Morning. My name is Carlos Pereira. I'm from Brazil, but I'm living in the US now. And I would like to start by saying that some days are capable of changing history. For example, September 11th. That day, a series of terrible events have changed the world forever. Maybe it's a coincidence, but also in September 11th, my daughter Clara was born. In that day, a series of terrible events have left my daughter with cerebral palsy. This is my family, this is my wife Aline, this is our daughter Clara, and due to her disability, she can't walk and she can't speak. And since I wanted to empower my daughter, I created a software named Vox that enables people with disabilities to communicate and to learn. There are millions of people with disabilities that can't communicate orally. What makes Vox unique is that it has intelligent algorithms for motor, cognitive, and visual impairments. So Vox is able to adjust itself according to every disability. Vox for someone with autism is different from Vox for someone with cerebral palsy, ALS, stroke sequelae, etc. Well, we just received an investment from Google, and also we have a partnership with the Florida Hospital in the United States. The Florida Hospital is a hospital with 44 facilities across the country, and we also won several awards. For example, we won an award from the United Nations as the best inclusion app in the world, from the IDB. And also, last week, we won in Brazil an award as the Social Entrepreneur of 2016. This award was granted by the Schwab Foundation in Folha de São Paulo. So I'm really proud of this. But we are not only, how can I say, stage entrepreneurs. We are doing businesses, and our revenue up to now is $3.5 million, and we have over 25,000 users, and Vox is available in 25 languages, Spanish included. And why, for example, a hospital in the United States, a chain of hospitals, is using Vox? First, because Vox is 4,000% cheaper than the current solution that they have. And second, because our technologies. They told me that our software is 20 years ahead in the technology that they are using to have in the United States. So we are ready to go to the next step and reach English and Spanish-speaking countries. And I would like to end by saying the words of the American Senator, Daniel Webster, when he said, "If all my possessions were taken from me, with one exception, I would choose to keep the power of communication. For by it, I would sooner gain all the rest." Thank you.
Ahora recibimos a Constanza Gómez Montt.
Every second, 2 persons around the world move into a city. This means that 180,000 people move into cities every day. And cities will not be planned as Paris or New York or Chicago. They will be mostly planned and already unplanned as Mexico City, Sao Paulo, and other cities of the global south. What we see right now is an unplanned development. And the question is, what will we do as society when all the cities are presenting social and development and environmental challenges? Let me tell you one of these challenges that I'm very passionate about, transportation. Transportation is causing, at least in the metropolitan area of Mexico City, 4.6% of the GDP on the national scale because of our ineffectiveness. It is also costing 2.5 hours of commute every day to people that are spending around 18.5% of their salary in low, effective public transportation. And this also has a big effect on gender. There was a study done by United Nations where 97% of women established that they were afraid of aggressions in public transportation system in Mexico City. And 9 out of 10 women had established they were victims of such violence. And what about air pollution? Transportation has a huge effect on carbon emissions. Right now, what we saw in Mexico City this year was the most polluted time we had for the last 10 years. These cities and the pollution and the time we spend on cars is affecting directly our quality of life. And the quality of life we're searching for cities and for our families. What we're doing in my organization is searching for new and more creative and more innovative ways to solve challenges in cities such as transportation. What we're doing is citizen participation, crowdfunding, crowdsourcing ideas from all citizens, and using the power and leverage of exponential technologies to bring radical change to these systems. Let me tell you one of these case studies. In Mexico City, we have 14 million trips daily for public transportation. That means that if we put together Paris, London, Berlin, and Madrid together in people, that is the daily use of public transportation. And the government had no data on where these buses passed all around. And it's not because they didn't want, it's because there's 29,000 concessionaries and bus companies that manage the public bus transportation. And we did not have data. How can we create policies with no data? What we did was a gamification. We created an app where during 17 days we invited the whole population of Mexico City to map the entire bus system. This was going to take the government from 5 to 6 years. What we did here is find new ways of managing creativity, innovation, public transportation into systems. This, as you can see, is the first map of Mexico City's public bus transportation done. At the end of the day, what we want to do is leverage big data, mobile tech, machine learning, artificial intelligence into crowdsourcing the best solutions for cities. Thank you.
Recibimos a David Gascón.
Good morning. Hello everyone. So when I talk about how can technology impact people's life, and we say this context is about impacting 10 million people's life, and I think, what about impacting 2,000 million people? And this is what is a good e-health system. The healthcare nowadays is not worldwide spread. There are 2,000 million people that cannot really access to a decent diagnosis tools. And why this is here? It's because these diagnosis tools, the healthcare, are really expensive, and they are proprietary, they are closed. So we came with an idea of reinventing the e-health ecosystem, the e-health applications that you can develop, and the e-health medical devices to build a smart hospital. This is my signals. This is the future of hospitals. This is 100 times fewer price than a regular hospital. A regular hospital is like $100,000, and this is less than $1,000. And another important thing is that in rural areas, that you cannot really put technology in there because they cannot afford to put hospitals in the mountains, in the village. This is the size of a book. And this is the hospital. We just reside and make it 100 times cheaper than a professional hospital room. We can measure 20 different body parameters, almost anything we really need in a hospital, from heart rate, blood sugar, pulse, oxygen in blood. We can measure almost every single parameter that is important to make a diagnosis tool. And why this is a game changer in the future of healthcare applications? This is because it's really expensive to have doctors in almost every single place in the world. So we just break that. This device is connected to the cloud. So you have patients on the one side having the inputs from the sensors, and you have specialists, you have doctors through all the world just analyzing this information coming from these sensors and making diagnosis. So you can have people here in Mexico, in Colombia, in India, in Africa, with this cheap and really small tool, and have doctors in Europe, in the US, making the diagnosis of all these people. So we are changing the future of medical applications, and we think that this will be a game changer for healthcare. Thank you very much.
My name is Edith and I'm from Canada. In 2010, I left my bubble in Canada for the first time in my life and traveled to Kenya. Here, I met a woman in a village called Impala, and she showed me how she had these 3 solar lanterns that she had bought and were using for her family, one to give to her husband, one to give to her children to study at night, and then one she could use for chores. And she was telling me how she had this last solar lantern. The box said that it could charge 3 solar lanterns, but she was actually not able to charge enough electricity from it. And I started thinking, well, why is the solar panel so inefficient? It's because she's only putting it at one angle so that it's fixed at the same position and not collecting electricity and not following the sun. So I actually built a prototype that I wanted to share with her. And when I came back to the village and wanted to deploy it, she wasn't there anymore. It turns out that she had actually been trampled by a buffalo. And this lack of electricity, this lack of light, was what drove me to start a nonprofit called Sunsolar. So this is our solar panel device that we developed. This is our team in India. And what we do is we developed a solar tracker that actually allows your solar panel to follow the sun at all points during the day. It's made of anything that's available locally, whether it's recycled metal, bamboo, wood, or any sort of material that you have. And we've taught entrepreneurs and engineers all over the world to build them in 18 countries. And I have been working on Sunsolar for many years now, but the journey is just beginning. We believe that in order to scale to 10 million people, we need to be able to train women, children, and community leaders to build Sunsolars, manufacture and sell them themselves. So far, our business model has just been implementing it directly ourselves, and this is slow. What we want to do is empower entrepreneurs to build these themselves. These are the locations that we've currently deployed Sunsolars in. You can see we actually have one Sunsolar deployed in Jautepec, here in Mexico. We want to bring that number up. I want all of those dots all over the world to be filled with Sunsolars and with entrepreneurs who are empowered by this technology so that they can go and create other technologies themselves. We believe that this 10 million people goal is very attainable according to the Gifted Citizen Prize, and we would love to have your support to do it. Thank you so much.
Hola Mexico! My name is Fernando Botelho and I'm responsible for the F123 project. I am blind, and despite that, I've been able to have the opportunity to work in countries as diverse as Brazil, the United States, and even Switzerland. But the world has 285 million blind and visually impaired persons, many of which do not have any of these opportunities. In fact, even education is a big challenge. For you to have an idea, in wealthy economies, 70% of the blind are unemployed. In developing countries, more than 90% do not have a job. This is the challenge we've decided to face at F123. F123 uses technology, training, and technical support to improve the educational and employment opportunities available for the blind. We already have 2 main products. F123 Visual, a system that reads the contents of the computer screen for persons who are blind, and F123 Access, a system that improves the accessibility and usability of websites so that technologies such as F123 Visual and all of our competitors are more effective, so that those technologies are able to read in an efficient way the contents of websites. Today, it is estimated that anywhere between 50% and more than 90% of websites around the world have serious accessibility issues that prevent software used by the blind from being effective. What are we going to do? What's going to be our next step? Well, as soon as we win the Gifted Citizen Award, or even if we don't, what we're going to do is integrate artificial intelligence and other technologies such as the Amazon Mechanical Turk system into our process. Because effortless access is already an order of magnitude more affordable to make websites accessible than the alternative. And it's already doing the same work that other processes use months to do. We're able to do it in days. But we're going to take it to the next level. And the next level is making it cheaper. It's reaching out, not just to the 70 countries we already have users at, but increasing the number of users to more than 10 million. The idea is that you should no longer be limited by the neglect of website creators. We are going to make it possible for the blind to reach their full potential. Thank you.
Invitamos por favor a los participantes a pasar al escenario para que los jueces realicen las preguntas que consideren pertinentes a los asignados.
Great job. I have a quick question for David. I imagine you're dealing with quite a large competitive landscape, and I know that there's lots of people doing similar things using mobile phones to direct medical information to the cloud. Can you talk a little bit about why yours is better?
Yeah, the thing is that most of the current e-health applications are focused on the software side, applications for algorithms to study the data being gathered, so there are not really tools to make new things happen in this field. What I mean is that this platform that I presented is an open platform. So the thing here is that comes with the new startups wanting to do e-health applications. We have open APIs and we have the physical device to help them to get into the e-health ecosystem to build new applications. The problem today is that it's really close. It's just big companies with a lot of money that you need a lot of money to get into that. So we came with this application, with this new platform that breaks and opens that this e-health ecosystem, so that new companies that are being created right now have a platform that can use like a tool to build their own, so of course software applications, but of course also new e-health sensors and uses in real patients and with a real device that can be deployed on the field.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening everyone, and I have a question for Constanta. Are there any specific plans implemented or going to be implemented by the Mexico City government to take action on the health generated?
Yes, we had impact on 3 sectors specifically. First, policymakers. We gave this data to the government, and they included this data into their policy, not only for mobility, but for urban development and security, because of the risk spots for crime prevention. Second actor we had was entrepreneurs. There are already 3 startups that using this data to create their own startup to solve mobility actions. And the fourth is academics, providing data on transportation-based policies, recommendations for governments. In Mexico City, we're working with the governments.
Hi. Blimey, what great projects. Where do you start? Maybe if I could ask a question of Carlos. This platform that you've developed is there to improve communication skills with kids that aren't able to. Do you have any trial data or could you quote some data that you've demonstrated to validate the platform that you've developed?
Absolutely.
Actually, alternative communication is something that already exists, okay, but there are different ways to approach alternative communication. So we are providing a new tool that makes this easier and faster. And right now we are in partnership with the Florida Hospital, and they are doing a scientific research with what we are doing right now. This new technology improves speed by 10 times of communication.
So there's still some data to be collected to further validate just how much faster communication will improve.
Exactly.
Okay.
Sharing out questions.
Congratulations to all of you, fantastic projects. I have a question for Ellen. And I would like to know if you have tested your device to work in harsh environments and how maybe the maintenance will be done. Thank you.
Yeah, so we've had cell computers deployed, I think I mentioned in my presentation, in 18 countries. Some of these places, most of these places are close to the equator and in warmer climates, so it's not an issue. But when you get farther away from the equator, we've had creative solutions proposed by our entrepreneurs where you would stack half of the system with bricks so that it's facing, so if you're in the northern hemisphere, it's facing the south, so you get more electricity, and vice versa. And then as well, in some places where the water is dirty, you will purify it and remove grains before it's actually used to drip through the filter. And then as well, for some very creative places in the US, even, where they're just using it for camping and they're not using the water filtration part, they've actually just put a little bit of antifreeze in the water so it'll never freeze and it'll just keep using it even in the winter. And of course, if you're using solar in some of these other pressure places, you do kind of acknowledge that you will not have as much solar as a place on the equator.
Do you plan that the maintenance can be done by the community?
Yes. So the reason we developed, the very first prototype we developed actually was so complicated. People told us it was terrible, they would never use it. But this, we've actually gone through over 60 to 70 iterations with our users. And we've gotten it down to the most simple materials. Anyone, if you go to a hardware store, you can purchase the tools to actually maintain it. If it's bamboo, just cut a new piece of bamboo. If it's recycled metal, just make sure that you're cutting it to the same length. And you can actually reconstruct our entire system and you no longer need our demos.
Agradecemos su participación y los invitamos a tomar su asiento nuevamente. Muchas gracias. Antes de iniciar el segundo bloque, es importante recordar cuál es la dinámica de nuestro Gifted Citizen. Hemos escuchado ya el primer bloque, a continuación tendremos dos más de emprendedores que expondrán sus proyectos. Posteriormente, el panel de jueces tendrán 6 minutos para hacer preguntas a los Gifted. Si tienen más preguntas, les haremos llegar unas tarjetas donde las escribirán y al finalizar del evento se las entregaremos a los Gifted Citizen. Para aquellas personas que necesitan apoyo en traducción simultánea, en sus asientos encontrarán los aparatos y los audífonos de lo mismo. Continuamos con el segundo bloque de Gifted. Invitamos a Howard Weinstein.
Good morning, good afternoon. The German philosopher Wittgenstein once said, "My language is the limit to my world." What Solar does is we help children with a hearing loss in developing countries develop an internal and external language. If a child can get a hearing aid before the age of 3, she can learn to communicate and go to a public school. And as we all know, it's only through education can you break the cycle of poverty. So 14 years ago now, we started in rural Africa, and with 10 women who were deaf, and or HIV/AIDS positive, and or in wheelchairs, they invented the first rechargeable hearing aid, the first solar-powered hearing aid, and a solar charger. This product's been so successful, it's been exhibited in the Smithsonian Museum, permanent exhibit at the Alexander Graham Bell Museum, and we scaled the program to Brazil, China, we're opening up in the Middle East with deaf Muslims, Christians, and Jewish people. The problem today is enormous for hearing loss. You know, you have over 600 million people with hearing loss. You put them all together, it's the third biggest country in the world. The cost of hearing aids is expensive, and the other big problem is the lack of professionals to test someone's hearing. You know, you have one professional for every 2 to 6 million people. If you can't test their hearing, the whole process stops. So our focus is really on children. We're going to help lower hearing loss to 80 million children in the next 5 years. Give them the opportunity to education. And how are we going to do that? Well, we developed this program called DREAT, Detection, Research, Education, Equipment, and Therapy. Before we just made the equipment. So we changed the whole program for the Solar Center to DREAT. Then we realized we can't have everyone come to a DREAT center in Sao Paulo or Shanghai. How do we bring it to the people? Well, the answer is a cell phone. We can now detect somebody's hearing using a cell phone by a micro-entrepreneur, or a Rotary Club, or a Lions Club, or an NGO. So we're creating wealth for the micro-entrepreneur. The results get sent by the cloud to a solar center. Then I can remotely program your cell phone to become a hearing aid. Let's not forget about it. A cell phone is a hearing aid. It has a microphone and a receiver. We've also got rid of the stigma of wearing a hearing aid. You know, no one wants to wear a hearing aid. Wearing a cell phone without earplugs, it's cool. They listen to music. No big deal. We also have a free maternal hearing health program. Because half of hearing loss can be prevented, and 80% is after birth. So if we can educate mothers, we can lower hearing loss by 15%. Thank you very much.
In the last 2 centuries, we have seen profound advances of technologies that allow us to connect with people all over the world. However, we are still very limited in how we can communicate with one another when we are not physically present. We are limited to 2 of our senses, sight and sound. When we call our loved ones, our first instinct is to reach out. Touching the screen is an attempt to be on the other side. And this is because our sense of touch is so essential for us as humans. It's the way we transmit emotions. We learn, we explore our world. It increases empathy and bonding, and has many benefits for our mental and physical health. We believe in a future where presence doesn't stand in the way of being connected. As we transition from 2D displays to some kind of 3D environment, whether it is augmented reality, virtual reality, holograms, these technologies hold the promise of being at the core of how we work and interact for the following decades. It's estimated that by 2020, in just 3 years, this will be a $160 billion market. Social virtual reality will allow to be present in our interaction with our loved ones and friends. And also, at virtual workspaces, it will increase our productivity to a new level. But there is still something missing that underlies the human experience, our sense of touch. We are building a technology that allows us to use our bare hands with no need of glove or controller to feel and interact in the virtual world as we do in the real world. We are using ultrasound to digitize touch. Ultrasound has been used for many years in healthcare, the medical industry, to recognize and explore our bodies. But in a specific configuration, we are able to overlap the ultrasonic waves in a point emitter to generate a constructed interference that can be felt in our hands. Our device emits a cone of interaction in front of us and let us feel the virtual world. Well, can you imagine the possibility to give your loved one a caress at a distance? Holding hands? Can you imagine the possibility to give someone a virtual handshake? Can you imagine the possibility to touch the untouchable, to touch a dinosaur? Why not? To touch the surface of the moon. My name is Isaac Castro, and I co-founded Immerse at Singularity University last year. We are working to create the next era of presence as we transition from 2D displays to 3D environment. We are working to transform human communication.
Buenas tardes. Mi exposición va a ser en español, le recomiendo los apuntes.
Una de cada 7 personas en el mundo vive en pobreza extrema. No tienen acceso a energía, agua o una vivienda digna. Y un 40% de la población en Latinoamérica, África y Asia vive así. Tenemos otro gran problema, los residuos. Esta es la cantidad de residuos que enviamos al vertedero diariamente. La buena noticia es que todos somos parte de la solución. Te enseñaremos a separar tus residuos. Llévalos a nuestro punto de acopio más cercano. Le damos una segunda oportunidad al plástico. En nuestra fábrica podemos convertirlo en viviendas, salones de clases, refugios para personas que realmente las necesitan. Muchas familias te lo agradecerán.
Una de cada 7 personas en el mundo vive en pobreza extrema. No tienen acceso a agua, a luz y un sitio digno para vivir. Estas son las condiciones del 40% de la población de América Latina, África y Asia. Y como si fuera poco, casi 80 millones en Latinoamérica. Estas son las condiciones de... otro gran problema que existe en nuestra sociedad es la contaminación y los residuos sólidos. Se espera que para el año 2050 habrá más plástico que peces en el océano. Soy Henry Cañón, vengo de Bogotá, Colombia. Soy cofundador de Conceptos Plásticos. Lo que hacemos es enseñar a las personas a reciclar con un impacto social. Lo que hacemos es enseñarle cómo reciclar a las personas adecuadamente sus residuos plásticos y luego nosotros los transformamos en una idea innovadora. Esta es nuestra idea. Este es un bloque realizado que se hacemos con plástico 100%. Estas son construcciones que nosotros fabricamos y que luego la misma población vulnerable la construye. Se construye como un Lego. Si nosotros pudiéramos reciclar al menos el 2% del plástico que nosotros desechamos en nuestras casas, podríamos acabar el déficit habitacional de América Latina en tan solo 10 años. Si nosotros pudiéramos reciclar todos los residuos que enviamos al botadero, podríamos ahorrar la luz que consume la ciudad de Monterrey en 2 años. Podríamos ahorrar el agua que consumen 15.000 personas en un año, o el CO2 que capturan más de 70 millones de árboles. Nosotros necesitamos recursos económicos para mejorar nuestra estrategia y aumentar nuestro impacto social. Gracias.
Tembo educates 0 to 6-year-old children around the world via text messages. Jasmine is a mother in a Nigerian slum, and she doesn't have education for her children, but she does have a mobile phone. So we train and certify home educators to visit Jasmine's home and teach her through SMS text messages. Jasmine then educates her children in her own home. For educating her children and answering a quiz correctly, Jasmine is rewarded with free minutes in text directly to her phone, incentivizing her to educate her children. Jasmine's like other mothers. She wants her children to be educated. But what's available to her now lacks quality, isn't accessible, and she can't afford it. We solve these problems. First, by using a top-quality, home-based curriculum. Then we make it accessible by using the world's most popular form of communication, SMS texts. And lastly, We make it affordable by partnering with telecoms to use their existing distribution channel. We can scale to any market in the world that has a telecom. There's over 2 billion in the world's slums that use SMS, and over 600 million live in sub-Saharan Africa, which is why it became our initial target market. More children live there than anywhere else in the world. The reason we began in Nigeria is because it's the fastest growing phone market, fourth fastest growing population, and has a birth rate of 5.5 children per mother. We are proud to announce we've been lucky enough to be published in Forbes magazine as the top 30 social entrepreneurs in the world under the age of 30. We're on track to educate over 2 million children, create 100,000 new jobs for home educators, and generate 25 million in profit in less than 5 years. Jasmine, like millions of other mothers, is waiting for something as simple as a text message to change her child's life. Help us click send and maximize children's potential with Tempo. Thank you.
Can you understand me? Deaf people communicate like this with their hands, and they also can't understand you. To solve this problem, we created HandTalk, a translator for sign language. I realized that there was a big communication barrier between deaf and hearing people. They have difficulties communicating with each other, and the problem begins at home, between parents and children. There are over 300 million deaf people in the world, and many are in the same situation, living like foreigners in their own country. So I thought, what if I created an automatic translator for sign language? So we launched the HandTalk mobile app, and Hugo was born, a virtual interpreter that translates audio and text to sign language automatically. So far, Hugo has helped about 6 million people in Brazil. They are using HandTalk in their classes, at schools, at home, with their friends and families, translating or learning sign language. I also realized that most of the internet was completely offline for deaf people, because they have difficulties to understand written content. So we created a website translator, and Hugo is currently helping deaf people navigate thousands of websites. Clicking the button and Hugo translates the content automatically. In the future, I think that the HandTalk can be everywhere, like movies, subway stations, and airports, for example. Our mission is to break the barrier between deaf and hearing people, once and for all. My name is Ronaldo Tenorio. I am CEO and co-founder of HandTalk, and I would like to thank you in Brazilian Sign Language. Thank you.
A permanecer en el escenario y los demás, por favor, nos acompañan para recibir las preguntas de los jurados. Si gustan subir, por favor, al escenario.
Hi, well, my name is Leticia. First of all, congratulations to you all. I always say that as a judge, this is the worst judge for us to judge. It's just very difficult to connect when you hear all what you have done. It's amazing. So congratulations. My question goes to Howard. Howard, I would like you to explain me. Sorry, it's more about it. No, sorry, Thompson, sorry, it's Henry. Henry, lo voy a decir en español. ¿Podrías explicarnos explicar un poco más tu manera, la manera como operas, cómo generas ingresos? Por un lado tienes la parte de educación de reciclado,
la gente va a decir, eso lo usas tú como materia prima para después construir el material para construcción. Si pudieras explicarme un poco quién te paga, si tú pagas, por ejemplo, a la gente por reciclar por esa materia prima, y luego quién paga a ti por los materiales de construcción o por esta vivienda. ¿Quién es tu cliente y tu proveedor?
Nuestro proyecto tiene triple impacto: impacto social, impacto económico, impacto ambiental. En cuanto al impacto ambiental, existe el tema de responsabilidad extendida, donde son las empresas que contaminan, nos tienen que contribuir a nosotros con una especie de impuestos para que nosotros podamos recoger la contaminación que ellos generan. Y en cuanto al impacto social, nosotros lo que queremos es acabar el déficit habitacional en América Latina. ¿Cómo logramos esto? Nuestros clientes son entidades gubernamentales que nos compran a nosotros casas ya para que la comunidad luego las construya. Estas son casas que son construidas por ellos mismos, es como un Lego. Entonces, pues básicamente nuestros ingresos son
Dependes de los gobiernos, entonces.
De gobiernos, de organizaciones no gubernamentales, fundaciones que quieran ayudar a la comunidad.
My question is for Isaac. There's no doubt that you've got enormous potential for products, at least from tech and profit standpoint. But just in this one panel, we heard from people that are going to be giving people who don't have the ability to hear and breaking that cycle, and breaking the cycle of people who don't have access to education for the most basic technological resources. I'm going to give you an opportunity to make the case for the actual social impact. Because what I'm seeing is a tool for the developed world for people with all of their senses.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, actually what we are building is a new tool for communication. In this over-connected world that we are living today, we are more disconnected than ever. And there are researchers that are saying that this disconnection is affecting very heavily our mental health. So this disconnection that we are having of being behind our screens is very, very related to diseases like Alzheimer's. MIT says that even mediated touch can help to postpone or even decrease the symptoms in Alzheimer's. So the application that we are building is we are giving a tool to be more present and to help our mental health.
It's a question for Phil. Phil, I just need clarification if I missed it on the business model here. Right? So my understanding is you've got children that need educating, and they get educated through mobile phone in terms of completing the task, they want to get minutes.
Home educator to parent, parent to child. For educating their child, the parents are rewarded with minutes and text. As far as the business model is concerned, the parents pay a monthly subscription to the program. We are a for-profit social enterprise, and we pay the home educators a salary. So we're also creating job opportunities as well.
Yes, a great question for Isaac. In which stage of development is your technology right now? And do you plan to integrate it with other communication technologies, virtual reality technologies? How is that going?
Actually, when we were born, we were thinking of how we could make Skype calls in a different way, more present, even creating an application for the blind, also making the learning experience more interesting, because we as children learn by touching, right? This is the way we explore our world, we identify new objects, and we retain the knowledge. So we are now more into the virtual reality, because the virtual reality and virtual reality technologies are going to be the future for how we live and run. Today we are in the fourth iteration of our working prototype, so we actually can make some content in VR that you can feel with your hands, without the need of any glove or anything, or any controller. And we are raising funds right now to reach the MVP in the next 5 months. which will allow us to create better experiences and also to expand our business. We are working already with companies that are interested to create educational experiences using our sense of touch.
Agradecemos su participación a este segundo bloque, los invitamos a pasar a sus lugares para dar inicio al tercero y último bloque. Recibimos a Rupam Sharman.
2 years ago, while researching girl blindness, I had this profound moment what it would be like to live in complete darkness. Empathizing that scared me. And then visited a blind school in Delhi, spent 15 days over there, and realized that for somebody living in poverty in India, the impact of blindness can be extremely serious. There exists 85% unemployment rate, and this is because 94% of the people don't know how to read Braille, which is the only medium for literacy to them. The other challenges faced are navigation outside well-known environments and accessibility to the smartphones. Mano in Spanish means hand, and view in French means vision. Mano View makes use of technology as a tool to empower the visually impaired community. Mano View is the world's first intelligent personal assisting system for the visually impaired. It is a glove which does 3 simple things. First, it helps the visually impaired read printed text by simply pointing their finger over the written text. Second, it helps them to navigate from one place to another by providing them a haptic feedback. Third, it comes with a mobile phone application that enables the user to use their phones only by their voice. Mano View is meant to replace the Braille language, the cane, and it opens up the smartphone market to the visually impaired. Mano View provides independence, employment, and empowerment to the visually impaired community. We have tested our system with more than 400 regular users across 8 blind schools in India and have received a great feedback. Let us see what they say.
जिंदगी में हमें रोशनी दे सकता है। हम भी डॉक्टर और इंजीनियर बनेंगे।
ये बहुत अच्छा लगा, इससे हमें बहुत फायदे हैं। इससे इसके कारण हमें स्टिक की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती। ये और तो मुझे बहुत हानिकारक मार्केट में जाना चाहिए और जो फैमिली की बहुत ज़्यादा।
ट्रीटमेंट ऐसा है कि लाइन के लिए लगभग हर काम पॉसिबल हो जाएगा।
यदि ये प्रोडक्ट मार्केट में आता तो हमारे लिए सबसे अच्छी बात ये होगी कि जो कोई भी मैटर रीड कर रहा था वो हमें लोगों की हेल्प लेनी पड़ती है हेल्प की जरूरत नहीं है।
ब्लैक पर्सन्स के लिए तो नया जन्म जैसा होगा। ये तो
ये इतनी सारी प्रॉब्लम हम दृष्टिबाधितों की और ब्लाइंड पर्सन की सॉल्व करेगा कि वो इट विल बी ए वेरी मच हेल्पफुल और मिरेकल इन आवर लाइफ.
We are currently working on reducing the cost of the device. We have brought the cost down from $100 to $60 and are now aiming for $28. And we are going to start a pilot project in Nicaragua and Ecuador in the month of February 2017.
Sarah Jane Kerr.
In 2013, as Christopher Hapkill was at the International Space Station playing a space odyssey that was going viral, 14 nations ratified a space exploration agreement that did not include artists until we had a future space settlement, maybe 2040. I'm an artist on a mission, and those timelines are a little bit long for me. So I've created Bending Horizons to disrupt that, to reinvigorate the idea of the expeditionary arts practice, and to set a new roadmap. NASA, ESA and JAXA are some of my clients. Space agencies want what artists create.
new perspectives, innovation, and cultural dimensions. Historically, artists have contributed in space education, in outreach, in design, in architecture, and those kinds of platforms, but they have not yet been qualified for crew selection. Bending Horizons is changing that. In 2012, I set out to summit Mount Everest and to make art at various altitudes. I experienced a reach-based camp, experienced the Nepal earthquakes, which still unsettles me today. But I was able to translate the experience into a science fiction film to be able to communicate something larger. In 2016, I was a simulation astronaut for the European Project Moonwalk, working underwater with human robotic interactions and cooperation for a future lunar mission. And I broke a glass ceiling of sorts this year and became the first artist astronaut candidate for a NASA suborbital mission. So Bending Horizons is one part of the mission. I'm currently the only artist working in these high-risk environments, underwater and in space, but that could shift and that could change. The next mission is Project Poseidon, a 100-day undersea mission, a time to dedicate to developing inspirational projects and also benchmark criteria for future selection. We know art matters. We know that diversity in crews matters. We know that interdisciplinary teams succeed. If we're about to embark on a future to Moon and Mars missions, we need to embrace the cultural epoch that needs to support our technological pathways into new frontiers. It begins now, it begins with you, it begins with Bending Horizons. Thank you.
Hola, soy Tomás. Voy a hablar de una historia de puente, no de muro. Let me continue in English. 5 years ago, I created a tech company called Social Design. I started in India, where maybe 1 billion people live without access to energy. And relocated to France, raised a lot of money, and I had a great team, and we designed what is supposed to be the best solar streetlights. And that is great, but interestingly, our first project was to light up a Syrian refugee camp. And this was extremely meaningful. I mean, in those camps, streetlights changes everything. It enables women to walk safely at night to the toilet, where there were a lot of rape kids. And this moving experience really shaped what is Suna Design today, a company that is lighting people, not street or cars. We then have sold thousands of products in dozens of countries. And most of them, like some of them in Mexico, but most of them in sub-Saharan Africa. And there, talking with people, we find a new, interesting way to, like, from the street light to power the surrounding homes, bringing light and USB charging for phones, smartphones. And the people are paying for that energy, which makes the business model very viable. Repaying the infrastructure, using mobile money, they contribute to make it truly feasible to power thousands of households, hundreds of thousands in Africa. And today, Suna has already secured large commitment from donors and investors from Europe and the US for powering hundreds of thousands of households in the next 3 years. We have already started, and we are very proud of that. And today I'm here with you, and which is meaningful. In 3 days it's my birthday, on the 20th, and I asked myself why I'm here, not with my family, and why I'm a gifted citizen. And I think I found the answer in the plane. I'm gifted because I found a way to give back to the people most in need. And we are all here for building bridges, and I'm very proud to be with you.
Hi, my name is Vaibhav. I'd like to introduce you to Pankaj today. Pankaj is the milkman who delivers milk to my house every day, like clockwork. So every start of the month, on a lazy Sunday morning when Pankaj comes to the house of all our customers, the customer's initial reaction is, "Bhaiya baad mein aana," which means please come later. What adds to the problems for Pankaj is that often after, despite his lot of efforts, he ends up collecting a fake note, which ends up being cloned by the banks as well. Now Pankaj, because of his dismal cash flow, has to visit a money lender to loan the money to pay his agencies, and the problem is the money lenders charge an exorbitant rate of interest. This is where FT Cash comes into play. What we do is we work with these micro merchants, the genies who make our lives comfortable, grocery stores, milkman, newspaper agencies, all of these guys, to enable them to accept cashless payments and loans within 5 minutes. What we do is, there are 60 million micro merchants in the country today, and less than 2% have access to electronic payments and loans. FT Cash enables these merchants to accept electronic payments only using a 2G phone and a bank account. Based on the transaction history that they have on our platform, we are able to give them a working line of credit that can be uniquely paid back from our daily transactions. We started off in June 2015, and since then we have scaled 42 times from our initial estimates. And with recent demonetization that has been done by Prime Minister Modi in India, we believe that there is a great scope, and it's like almost like a WhatsApp movement in India for financial inclusion as well. We are incubated by PayPal, and we were awarded by Prince William and Kate Middleton earlier this year for our work that we're doing with the bottom of the pyramid. And we were awarded by Forbes as one of the most fastest growing financial inclusion social enterprises as well. What we believe is that the way financial companies, WhatsApp has transcended from metros to villages in India, we believe the same thing can be achieved now with financial inclusion to provide this missing middle class better access to health, education, and even nutrition. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to use your imagination because unfortunately my slides are not here. Our heart beats over 40 million times per year. It is the hardest working muscle in our bodies. Mine right now is moving very fast because I'm last and the most stressed. When the beat changes, when its perfect coordination does not function correctly, it becomes ineffective and an alarming biomarker to tell us something is happening inside our system. Unfortunately, it is known as a silent disease. When it's really not so silent, we can all feel it right here. It's with us all the time. Our heart reacts to our life exposure, how we treat ourselves, and how our body reacts to the environment where we live in. Right now, heart disease is the #1 killer of women worldwide, higher than breast cancer, lung cancer, and all types of cancers combined. And it is alarming that since 1984, women's deaths have increased and men's deaths have decreased. What does this mean? It may be the same organ, but individually, we need to know more. And we need to work on better treatment because it's not really working. 46 million women in the US have some form of cardiovascular disease. In emerging countries, the number is much higher and not documented. These are some of, well, I had a picture of some heart survivors that we've been working with, and it's an example of diversity of patients because they have all ages, from 28 to 77. 42% of women don't make it past their first year, and this is scary. For each patient, waiting until their next doctor's appointment to know if they're actually getting better can be really stressful. And currently, they don't have any data or an easy way to know how they're doing. At Bloomer Tech, We're integrating biometric sensors to ordinary clothing for extraordinary data. Through our patent-pending technology, we have designed a low-friction way to help women monitor and take care of their heart health, making the brassiere an optimum medical-grade device a patient can use, giving information to her doctor for better treatment, and empowering her with action tools for better outcomes. Compared to other life threats, heart disease is actually preventable and reversible. We're aiming to transform clothing because in this technological era, clothes should be used to optimize our health. I'm a proud engineer, ex-Atec, and I'm excited that not only we can digitalize these biomarkers, but that we will finally figure out that our bodies are not a mystery. Thank you.
Para que puedan escuchar las preguntas de los jurados.
Again, congratulations to you all. Ruben, I have a question for you. You're building this device, you have this device. We're talking about, it costs right now $60. You're trying to bring the cost down. My question is, in some of the areas that you really want to reach, which is very disadvantaged areas, can these people really afford to pay for that device? That's my question. If you would be able to reach that 10 million people that you're talking with that crisis.
So when I started building this, when I talked to people, conducted surveys, I took this thing into account. When we were building this, we thought of bringing a product which was really cheap. When we did an initial pilot test, we told them the price would be around like $100. They said it wouldn't be affordable. In India, I went to Nicaragua, studied users over there, asked for their feedback. They said it won't be affordable by them too. What I did then was I started researching on the image processing, how I could make the use of a wearable like a small webcam camera and do the thing. I worked on that, brought the cost down from $60, from $100 to $60. Even now, what we're doing is analyzing those results and bringing down the cost to $28. So we've been testing our device like with people, like in India, and people are quite willing to buy this at like $28. We even have a subsidy schemes, so we have 12 collaborators. We've established like subsidy schemes with them, and it's going to be accessible once this price is reached.
Thank you.
I have a question for Sarah. Regarding the necessity of artists in space, I can see once we have the colonies in Mars, or I don't know, satellite of Jupiter, we need artists there. But in the next space mission, why do we need an artist there when it is so expensive and so risky to put a person on orbit?
I think part of it is about a paradigm shift. I think we have historically placed artists in a position where we've looked at them as documenters of the world. And I think what we're increasingly learning is that they are innovators in their own right, and they are often working towards mutual discovery. And in cooperative and collaborative situations, particularly operational situations, you have a tremendous transfer of skills. And often there are astronauts with skills in the arts, and that puts them in really good stead. Part of my what I'm championing is that there should be some recognition of some of those skills at the outset. So it's not really secondary, but it is a part of the primary core role. So the contribution that they're making initially is many and varied, and it's very similar to the historic expeditions where artists were involved in all sorts of colonial expeditions, polar expeditions, mountaineering expeditions, and so on. And it's something that we've just lost track of in more recent years, as you said, partly because of the money barrier. With the commercial space industry opening up, that changes it.
question to Abrav. Yeah, just from the impact story by me again. This allows people to do better business. Where's the impact?
So it's a financial. Yeah, so it's a financial inclusion which is the impact. So currently, none of these guys have access. In fact, less than 2% have access to financial capital or working capital, because of which they are not able to afford better healthcare, education, or nutrition. Because the biggest problem for them is that they are not able to increase their sales itself of their business. So they've been working on a constant amount of sale of their business for a very long time. This allows that to happen at a very large scale.
Okay.
Again, another question for you. Again, it's amazing, an amazing proposition. The question is about, again, impact. First of all, who are the beneficiaries of your horizons, and how do you really see this impacting like 10 million people or beneficiaries?
Sure. I think I've looked at this in two ways, because it's a question I've asked myself, and I know a lot of independent artists will do the same. How do we recognise the way we have a ripple through our cultural settings and political settings? But partly what I'm doing is opening doorways for other artists, and I am setting precedents, and I am also establishing relationships and trust with people who haven't necessarily worked in cooperation with artists before. So one of the things I do, particularly with the European Space Agency, is work on collaborative platforms there. So the impact is at longer term. I think we write visions for the future where we have an ideal notion of what crew selection would be like, and when it comes down to it, we are very based in science, engineering and technology for a very good reason, and the cultural aspects, the parts that keep us together and keep us functioning and operating as a whole, as a society, are not necessarily ingrained in at the outset. And I think we can change that. Did I answer your question?
Agradecemos a todos los participantes. La haber recibido las preguntas y vamos a pasar a su lugar. Les damos un fuerte aplauso a todos nuestros emprendedores y los invitamos a todos los que están presentes a formar parte de un networking. Afuera encontrarán un lunch y podrán intercambiar tarjetas, ideas, proyectos y muchas cosas más. Un momentito, por favor, Chanquito. ¿Cómo están? Préndanme la luz, por favor. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias, Gifted Citizens. Muchas gracias a Pichat Palace Latam Entrepreneurs. Muchas gracias a los que están aquí de visita. Muchísimas gracias a los jueces que están aquí, que también vienen de otros países. Y muchas gracias al equipo que está detrás, que ha podido forjar durante varios meses este evento. En particular, yo le tengo mucho agradecimiento a una persona. Ella es la CEO de Poder Cívico y ella realmente ha apostado por promover Gifted Citizen dentro de Ciudad de las Ideas. Entonces, Paulina Escutia, muchísimas gracias por todo lo que haces. A Mirel Bisuet también, que nos ayudó a hacer estos increíbles diseños, Game Changers, la conceptualización del Game Changer. Y tenemos un equipo de muchos de ellos son voluntarios y muchos de ellos son parte de un equipo que ha estado por varios meses trabajando en esto, y es el equipo de Gifted Citizen. Aquí tenemos a Fanny, por ejemplo, y a muchos otros que están afuera preparando el siguiente momento de Gifted Citizen. Let me turn to English. I was very moved by everything. I think the articulation from Natasha, how she brings the beauty of art, the importance of the collaboration, of bringing these two worlds together. It's amazing, and let's not forget, let's play. Let's go out, let's meet each other, let's collaborate, and let's play. We have 3 more days for Ciudad de las Ideas. It is going to be spectacular. And we have the moment now, we're going to have lunch, and we're going to network, and then we're going to have the workshops. But the most important thing that we're going to have now are conversations. You're going to have conversations and going to open a new door. You're going to have a new shifting paradigms in your mind, we hope. And you can collaborate. Like Paul Tasner was saying today, he met Zubaida here, and a collaboration emerged from that. And it's very exciting for Gifted Citizen. So thank you for that. And please take this opportunity to collaborate with each other. I'm going to go soon, and we're all going to go eat. But I have a task to do with you. And so I'm going to ask you to please open your phones. Tomorrow is a very exciting day as well, just as today. And we're going to learn how we're going to vote for Pichat Palace Latam tomorrow. So, in a very Montessori manner, we're going to do it here in practice. So please open your application, your apps. Open your apps. And you're going to find the Pichat Palace app, which looks like this. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, closer. And with this Pichat Palace app, you're going to be able to vote for the Pichat Palace entrepreneurs who are here. Could you please stand up, Pichat Palace entrepreneurs? We're very excited about tomorrow. They're going to have a boot camp. Thank you. They're going to have a boot camp now with our wonderful collaborators from Math Challenge, and they're going to prepare for tomorrow. So we all need to have this app, and then we're going to be able to vote with what? With our badge. So you're going to find a code in your badge, and in order to vote, you're going to put it down into this application. You're going to go to all events, and in all events, you're going to find Pichat Palace Latam, which is the first one, and you're going to be able to vote. We're going to send you all our good vibes. It's going to be wonderful. So thank you so much. Paulina, would you like to give a few words?
Solo para aclarar, el código que justamente están ahorita buscando, ahorita tienen una etiqueta que los va a llevar a los talleres. A las 5 de la tarde, cuando toda la gente que nos acompaña se suba al autobús o se suba a las camionetas que los están transportando, nuestro equipo les va a colocar la etiqueta que van a utilizar el día de mañana. Ahí es donde viene el código, por eso muchos de ustedes no lo van a encontrar. Es importante que ustedes sepan esto, porque a la hora de que se suban a los autobuses y a la transportación, en ese momento el equipo de Gifted Citizen les está poniendo la etiqueta que trae el código y trae justamente un chip para que puedan entrar a la ciudad de las ideas. Bueno, esa era una nota informativa para que obviamente todos supieran. Solo quiero agradecerles muchísimo la asistencia, pero sobre todo sus ideas que están cambiando el mundo. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, vamos a comer y después los talleres. Nos vemos muy pronto. Gracias.
Wi-Fi de aquí para los clases. Llévatelo tú.